9, 8.
You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
So I was just having a conversation with JD, who's running the board, and we were talking about the fact that my throat is still a little off and my voice is a little weaker than normal. And he suggested hot tea and lemon and honey, and I said, and scotch, because, a hot toddy. And I said, I just not quite sure where I would come up with a bottle of scotch, with that on short notice. And we talked a little bit, and I am a scotch drinker. I'm not a big drinker. At my size, it's hard to get me drunk. So I don't go out and recreationally drink. If I go out and I have a drink, I'll have one or two, but I'll drink straight scotch because, I don't need mixers or, margaritas or Moscow mules or any of that stuff. Just straight scotch, maybe with a single ice cube to break that surface tension, or just by itself, usually by itself. But I remembered a story. A group of friends of mine went down to a bar in Los Angeles called 7 Grand. And the reason it's so cleverly named 7 Grand is it's on the corner of 7th Avenue and Grand. And it's an upstairs bar. And they have just this wall of scotches. And then they have a back room that has like the Japanese whiskeys and scotches. And they have bourbons. And I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's the type of place that if I lived closer, I would just take my laptop and go sitting right there. Just drink tea in the morning and scotch in the afternoon. That would just be a very Hemingway-esque way to live. But I digress. So we're trying different scotches while we're there because that's the fun part. At home you buy a bottle you like, you drink it, but it's fun to try different scotches, and they vary greatly. If you are not a scotch drinker, scotches from Islay tend to be a lot more peaty, and earthy, while the ones from the Highlands area tend to be a little more, a little lighter, stuff like that. So you try different ones. And I had a couple, and I was down. I'm like, okay, this is my last one. I'm going to have to drive home. So I'm good. Well, my buddy's like, well, then we need to get you the best scotch in the place. And I'm like, I can't afford the best scotch in the place, probably. So he turns to the bartender and goes, all right, so anywhere between $20, $30, what's the best shot of scotch you can do? And this is a shot. And the guy looks at the wall. He comes back with something called Octomore. And Octomore is a small batch run from a company called Bruichladdich. And he poured a shot, and he poured a very generous shot. I mean, this guy knew that he was charging $27 for this shot. He was going to make it worth $27. So he poured it in, and I got it. I smelled it. I swirled it around a bit, and I took a sip, and it was awesome. It really was. It was. I agree that it was a $27 shot of scotch, which I don't normally do. Well, my buddy wanted to try it, and I'm like, well, go ahead, take a sip. And he took a sip and just about fell off his bar stool. It was just more than he could handle. And the guy drinks bourbon. He's not this is the guy that they coined the phrase dinosaur drunk, because he got so drunk to a level of drunk we had never seen before while wearing a dinosaur onesie. So that became dinosaur drunk. But it just floored him. And then a mutual friend of ours came up and she was like, oh, I want to try it. And he's like, no, don't do it. And I hand her the glass. And she took a sip. She goes, yeah, that's a little strong. And handed it back to me. She goes, I don't think I like that much. And I'm watching the guy. He's still like picking himself up off the bar stool. And I'm like, I think you just got your ass kicked there, buddy. So a few other friends came up. They're like, well, we don't want to try it because they weren't really scotch drinkers. But they're like, what does it taste like? And I thought about it for a minute. And we all live in kind of the same area. I said, you know the side of the freeway where all the brush grows, but it starts getting out of hand, and the fire department comes along, and they'll do a control burn, and then, it'll just take up all that brush, but they're there, and they get out the fire hoses, and they flood it down to put it out once it's gotten rid of the brush. I said, if you took a big scoop of that charred, soaking wet dirt and you filtered the scotch through that, you'd be close to this flavor. And I still like that description because it's very true. Haven't had that scotch since, but I would love to. Yes, whiskey made in Scotland, as long as it is distilled or spends a portion of its time in Scotland, then it's Scotch. It's the same thing with bourbon. Bourbon is whiskey, but if it's distilled or if it's made or aged in Kentucky, then it can become bourbon. And there's some different flavor notes to it and stuff, but overall, it's very interesting, And there's many different forms of whiskey. There's cognac, there's rye. So there's just slight variations on basic whiskey. So whiskey is kind of the base of it all, though. So, all right, stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, remember we are driving to 2,500 subscribers. So if you haven't hit the like and subscribe buttons, do that. And some of the things that will happen, well, if we get to 2,500 or when we get to 2,500, the more subscribers that we're able to gain, the more content we'll unlock at the end of the year. We're hoping to hit it by 11/25, which will be Small Business Saturday. We're going to have a bunch of special shows on that. That's a Small Business Saturday. So if you're looking to listen to something fun on that day, tune in here. We're going to have a lot of shows, a lot of deals. And again, the more subscribers, the more content. All the shows, if we reach 2,500 by 11/25, we will do 1 in 25 variant giveaways on that day. And we'll do some other big events and some other big giveaways and stuff. But, so now's the time. Go tell your friends about the channel. Let them know we're here. Let them know to sign up and that it could end up getting them some cool stuff. So, all right, let's see. Whom do we have here today? Well, Ed is here. Hello, Ed, and cool. Good to see you. Triple B. Nice to see you, bud. So, yep. JD says we need a whiskey primer show to get us ready for the holidays. If you think me doing a whiskey primer show or even a whiskey tasting show is going to get me drunk, probably not. It takes a lot to get me drunk. A lot. Now, if I took a certain kind of gummy, then you got a better chance. But just alcohol by itself or just gummies by themselves tend not to do it. Whiskey does make a great gift. I'll show you what I showed JD earlier. This was a gift I got last year. I haven't had a chance to open it. This was from Lisa's aunt. And I think I actually like the sweater better than the whiskey in it. Drinking with my nomies. I think that's awesome. The scotch itself is a blended scotch. I'm more of a single malt scotch. But blended has its purpose. Usually that's the kind you use to mix things with. Ed says, I'm a Long Island iced tea guy, aside from beer. Long Island iced teas are fine, but they take so much alcohol. There's just so much to go in it. What I was drinking for a while is, if you ever get a chance, there's something called a Colorado Bulldog. And it's kind of a neat drink because it's basically a White Russian with a splash of cola. So you've got your vodka, you got your Kahlua, you got your cream, and then you just hit it with a splash of cola or Dr. Pepper or something like that, some kind of fizzy drink. And it's nice. Did she make the sweater? I don't think she did. I don't think she's a crafty person, but I do like that sweater, and I'm going to hang on to it. And when I do drink that bottle, it will move on to another bottle and another bottle, and it'll just keep going. Four Freedoms is the bottom shelf at Ralph's. Pretty sure that meant for cleaning shitholes. I guess that'll be my way of judging how much Lisa's aunt likes me. All right. Today's show is going to be a little different. We had a bunch of news happen, and all of it I wanted to drill down a little deeper into. And we didn't get a chance yesterday because we had the lovely Renee Geerlings in here talking about the last Spartan. JD, can we find out the last Spartan finished its run, or if there's any time left? And if there's any time left, maybe we could throw the link up again. Ed says, you ever try a Trojan horse, Guinness and cola? Ooh. My only problem with that is that somewhere along the line, I became allergic to cola. I can't drink cola of any kind. Not Coke, Pepsi, RC, none of it. I can't drink cola. So I'm a Dr. Pepper guy. But Guinness and Dr. Pepper could be interesting. I don't know if I'll try it, but Guinness is interesting. I'm not a huge fan, though a good black and tan is tasty. 6 hours left. They're up to 50K. That means they hit that second stretch goal. So very good for them. So if you haven't checked out The Last Spartan, it seems like a very Jack Reacher meets Sons of Anarchy type series. So, and it's got a lot of great talented creators on it. Christopher Priest, Tyler Main, Mark Silvestri does a cover, Soya I mean, there's a lot of great people involved with that book. So if you haven't checked it out yet, the link's in the chat. All right, let's start breaking down some of the news we've been getting to over the last few days. And some of it I want to drill down in because I think people are running too far with it, and others because I think there's just a lot more information to be had. We're going to start with the big news, of course. Ed says Guinness is my beer of choice, but it's expensive, so I buy what's on sale. I've never been a big beer drinker. That's my problem. I do like Blue Moon and your the wheat ales and stuff like that. But beer's got to be like super cold if I'm drinking it, and I got to drink it fast. If it gets a little bit too warm, but I don't like the hoppy taste, so I'm not in for IPAs and stuff. Hey, Ken, it's good to see you. All right. Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards. This was an interesting news story that hit yesterday, and I didn't get to talk about it too much. But the initial story came out from one of the scoopers. I think it was My Time to Shine, but it's been picked up. Other insiders are talking about it. Deadline ran an article about it. So the word is that he's in talks to play Reed Richards. Other reports have come out saying that he is in talks to be in the movie, but not necessarily as Reed Richards. He may end up being the villain. There's been a lot of other news swirling. The reason they say they've been having a hard time locking somebody into the role is that the movie itself really puts Sue Storm as the lead character. You know, because this is going to be a Fantastic Four that has, you know, Sue and Reed are married and have at least one kid at this point. So it's a little later in their timeline. And, you know, Sue is kind of the heart of the Fantastic Four. So it's an interesting approach. Matt Shackman, of course, is directing. There's been a couple other names floated about. Vanessa Kirby has been one of the most popular names attached to Sue Storm. Joseph Quinn for Johnny Storm. Eben Moss Bachrach for The Thing. One of the things coming out now is Javier Bardem is supposedly being looked at for Galactus. And again, it's hard to say how much of this is real. You know, I think there's validity to the Pedro Pascal thing. Again, because like I said, Deadline's running with it. And Deadline's a pretty safe bet. But they're not saying he's signed. They're saying that he's being eyed for it. So, but yeah, I think I would be okay with him as Reed Richards, but I would prefer him as a villain. I think he would make an interesting Doom, but then you're looking at him playing another character that's basically in a suit of armor all the time, which he's fine with on The Mandalorian, but how often does he want to do that? So, yeah, I'm curious to see how this is going to pan out. There's also, he's got a lot of projects coming up. He's in Gladiator 2, which is supposed to start production very soon, before the end of the year. He's got The Last of Us Season 2 to film. And next year he's supposed to be in Zach Krager's film Weapons. So Pedro's got a pretty full dance card. Where would they fit him in? Could they get, you know, after Weapons start shooting or before? I mean, there's a lot to consider there. Where Fantastic Four is supposed to be out, I believe, before the 5th Avengers movie. So it needs to start moving pretty quickly. Which I could totally see them doing if he's Doctor Doom. I still don't want Doctor Doom to be the villain. I wouldn't mind him being introduced in the background, but I think you need to, and even if you skip the origin story for the Fantastic Four, which I am all for them doing, you still need time to establish them as characters. And Doom kind of needs his own, you know, he needs to have a lot of screen time. So when you're introducing 4 characters and a villain, that's a lot of time to take up in just developing the characters. So, but I think Marvel is really just kind of ramping back up, and we'll probably hear more about this particular project soon, probably sooner rather than later. I know a couple years ago in December, they did an Investors Day meeting, and that's where a lot of this stuff was introduced, like Blade, the Fantastic Four were mentioned, stuff like that. So it's possible we get that, and they'll give us some news there, but it hasn't been announced. But it's been a long time since we saw Kevin Feige come out on the stage and, give us a rundown. So I hope we'll get something soon, because I hate the fact that all of these websites are running with the narratives. And if you go out there right now, you're going to see a bunch of sites saying that he's officially Reed Richards. And he might be. That might be where they end up. But it hasn't been announced. It hasn't been confirmed. All the sites that you would consider confirming it are saying that he's being considered. So, again, I think they need to get out there with some news and kind of control the narrative, which they have not been doing. All right, we're going to move on to another story. Since you mentioned a Doom standalone film, can't stop thinking about it. Would be an amazing way to intro Doom into the MCU, like a prestige film like The Joker. Yeah, either that or even give him a special. I think his own film would be better, but we just got news today that Harley Quinn, the animated series on HBO Max, has been renewed for a 5th season. I know a lot of people kind of assumed this one was going to get the axe once Warner Brothers came in. It's a little more edgy, a little racier than you would think they would go. But no. They're moving forward with another Harley Quinn season. Kaylee Cuoco, who is executive producing the series, will be back to voice Harley Quinn. Now, the 4th season follows Harley as she strikes out on her own. Well, the series really does. Following a breakup with the Joker, who's voiced by Alan Tudyk. And she gets into a relationship with Poison Ivy, voiced by Lake Bell, and puts together her own crew that include Clayface, who's also played by Alan Tudyk. Then there's, what's his name? The little guy, Dr. Psycho, and Killer Shark, who's voiced by Ron Funches. I believe Tony Hale does Dr. Psycho. J.B. Smoove does the voice of Frank the Plant. Christopher Maloney does the voice of Commissioner Gordon. I mean, it's a fun cast. Quote from the executive vice president over at Max and Adult Swim about comedy and animation, Suzanne Makos, says, "The talented Harley Quinn team has once again succeeded in delivering a season that builds on everything that has come before while still feeling fresh and inventive. They continue to provide hilarious, heartwarming, and deranged stories with our lovable group of DC misfits, and we couldn't be more excited about the fans to see what they've accomplished in season 5. Peter Girardi, executive vice president of alternative programming at Warner Brothers Animation, says, "Harley Quinn has raised the comedic crowbar with every new season. We're excited to continue the partnership with Max and take our biggest swing yet for season 5. Isn't it cute when a executive producer decides to try to be a writer and make little jokes in their statement, like raising the crowbar and taking a swing? Yeah, I'm being facetious. All right, let's go ahead. We'll take our first break and we'll cover some more of the news when we come back. Be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds, a promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
According to a statistic that I just made up, people spend 4 hours a day changing the television channel. People who watch The Experience don't do that. Save yourself a ton of time by tuning into The Experience and enjoying our new original programming 7 days a week. And then tell your friends. Think about the money they could save on batteries in the remote alone just by tuning into The Experience. Find out more by scanning the QR code below.
Everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. I may need a minute. I just read Triple B's comment about how he just got home and what he likes to drink is Clamato and beer. And that's not the first person I've ever heard say that. It's actually a pretty popular drink, but it doesn't make it any less. Oh, God. I just can't even imagine it. I can't even imagine Clamato. I mean, it's basically tomato juice with clam juice in it. And then you add a beer. That just... I feel like you're breaking the laws of physics. You know? Like the TVA should show up and prune you. I mean, if that's what you enjoy, God love you. Enjoy it. But man, I couldn't. And I'm the type that will try anything, you know. But no. See, yeah. Ed too. Ed's with me. I wish I would have seen that before the break, because then I could have taken the break to kind of collect myself. And now I got to get back to doing a show. Damn, Triple B. Man. We got a great lineup today. There's a show, and then there's another show, and yet another show. No. Miss Jen's got What's in the Box. The comic book beardies are talking about a bunch of things, everything from the Marvels and Loki season finale, Doom Patrol season finale. We don't cover Doom Patrol here, which is a shame because I do love the show. I'm a couple seasons behind. But they're also talking about some of the new first issue books like Superior Spider-Man Returns and stuff like that out this week too. So if you haven't tuned in to the Comic Book Beardies, you want to check that out. And tonight on Sketch Up with Mog and Mel, they have the crew from War Angels, and they're doing more live drawing and more auctions. And there's some pretty impressive pieces that are going to be auctioned off. So definitely stick around for all of that. We got a good lineup tonight. All right. A Michelada. It's just wrong. So wrong. All right. We're going to try to get back to the news. But congratulations, Triple B. You found a way to derail me more than probably anybody else ever has. Ed says, I always wondered what clam juice was for. Ever tell you the story about the first and only time I ever tried clams? I was at a restaurant I was at the Beverly Hills Hotel in the restaurant having a lunch with a group of people who we were working on. I don't remember what we were working on. I think it was a video game, but I was there. A guy from this company was there from Big Dog. I think it was Big Dog. Steve Niles was there. And Tom Jane was there. I think there was somebody else. But yeah, Tom Jane there, who played the Punisher in The Mist and stuff like that. And Tom decided to order oysters for the table. Now, Steve's my buddy. Steve's the one that introduced me to drinking scotch. This is great to have this story connected. Steve quietly showed me how to try eating an oyster. And what you do is you put the little fork in there and you break the muscle that holds it to the shell. And then you just, slurp it down. And no, not for me. Thanks. I'm done. No. But I tried one. I did my thing. Tom, on the other hand, didn't break the shell. Didn't break the muscle attached to the shell. He would just suck it off. And yes, I say that knowing that's probably a horrible way to put it, but he would just pull it loose through suction and take it down. And there was like 24 oysters, and I had one. I think Steve had a couple, Luton had a couple, and Tom had the rest. And someone had dumped a whole thing of horseradish on the last one. And I think it was by accident. Nobody purposely put that much horseradish on a clam. And Tom saw it and picked it up and said something to the effect of, "Don't want it to go to waste." Took it in, held it in his mouth for 2 or 3 seconds, and then just spit it back out. And when I say spit it back out, I don't mean he grabbed his napkin and went, "Oh." I don't mean he turned away from the table. I don't mean he even aimed for his plate. Just out into the center of the table. And he looks up and looks directly at me and says, "That's the thing about clams. If they taste even a little bit off, just spit them right out." Just nodded my head. It was a very weird lunch. I'll tell the rest of the strange things from that lunch another day. We need to get back to the news. So, all right. Yesterday we found out that you're right, it was oysters. I confused oysters and clams. Seems like they're similar in my mind for some reason. It was oysters. All right, so Destin Daniel Cretton has left Avengers Kang Dynasty. He was the director of Shang-Chi. He is attached to executive produce and direct a couple episodes of the Wonder Man series. And he was supposed to be the director of Kang Dynasty. Now, he announced that he was leaving. He said the reason he is leaving has nothing to do with any fallout with Marvel. He's actually still doing Wonder Man. Wonder Man's going to get back. There's been reports that Wonder Man was going to disappear. It's not. He's still doing Wonder Man. But he wants to focus on Wonder Man. He wants to focus on some other things he's committed to. And they want to do Shang-Chi too. And it makes more sense for them to get somebody else for Kang Dynasty and let him continue with the Shang-Chi franchise than it does for him to focus on Avengers Kang Dynasty and walk away from Shang-Chi and get somebody else. So, and Shang-Chi made $432 million globally. It was a successful movie. It's the highest grossing movie to feature an Asian American or Pacific Islander as the lead. It also opens the record opening for the 4-day Labor Day weekend holiday at 94.6 million stateside. Yeah, so you want to put him back on it. He also did the movies American Born Chinese, the indie movie Short Term 12. He's worked with Brie Larson in the past, but it just makes a lot of sense for him to go back to that. Now, people are combining that with the news of Jeff Loveness not being on the movie anymore, and that he said the reason, insiders are saying the reason Loveness left or was fired off of Kang was because they're moving away from Kang, which doesn't make a lot of sense. If they like him as a writer, then they would keep him on no matter what direction. And if they don't like him as a writer, then they let him go because of that, not because they're changing directions. So there are a lot of people out there now who goes, it's confirmed they're getting away from Kang in the future of the MCU. And I'm like, that's not confirmed. It's possible. It is very possible, especially if Jonathan Majors' court case goes against him. They could recast, or they could swap the character out. There's a lot of options they have. But just because Cretton decides he wants to focus on the other projects, including Shang-Chi 2 and Wonder Man, which are both for Marvel, as opposed to him, that doesn't tell me that they're scrapping the movie and starting over. It just tells me that he's focusing on other things. So again, a lot of people are trying to read between the lines, and I don't think so. JD says, should I direct Avengers or Shang-Chi? Good problem to have. Yeah, exactly. He's still in good with Marvel. So what if they replace Majors with Cheadle and Cheadle with Terrence Howard? I like that. Or if they just bring Terrence Howard in as Kang. That could work. I think they ought to replace Kang, or if they're going to replace Majors, they replace him with Ke Huy Quan. Since there was the question of who really created the TVA, it could kind of fold back upon itself. All right, let's move on to another story. This one's interesting. Taika Waititi says that he's not going to be involved in Thor 5. Now, he directed two of the 4 Thor films, one really good one and one really bad one. And now that there's a rumor of a 5th one, he is making sure people know that he's not involved. He's out promoting his new movie, Next Goal Wins. And he told the Business Insider, when asked about a rumored Thor 5, he says, I wouldn't know if that's it. I'm not doing a Taika Waititi accent. I wouldn't know if that's accurate. No, that's going to be horrible. I wouldn't know if that's accurate. I know that I won't be involved. I'm going to concentrate on these other films that I've signed on for. Now, Waititi says that his other projects in the pipeline, like the adaptation of the graphic novel The In-Cow from Humanoids, that's huge, and a movie in the Star Wars universe, as well as an adaptation of Kazuo Ishiguro's novel Clara and the Sun. He said, so that's 6 or 7 years gone. I'd imagine another Thor would be a lot sooner than that. So he's pretty busy. The director says he has love for Marvel and said he loved working with them as well as leading star Chris Hemsworth, I would never feel like they are cheating on me. What TD said about Marvel continuing the Thor franchise. We're in an open relationship, and it's like if they want to see other people, I'm happy for that. And I still get back into bed with them one day. That is such a Taika Waititi thing to say. Now, my feelings on it, I think Thor Ragnarok was a fun movie. I don't think it was a Thor movie. I think Love and Thunder was a mess. I think Dark World had too many cooks. My favorite Thor movie is the first one from Kenneth Branagh. Because to me, that was a Thor movie. That was taking the images that Jack Kirby did and Walter Simonson did and just put them on the screen and make that, it's a big epic fantasy. And, I would love to see them drift back towards that. The Thor having a kid, them trying to do a comedic movie while tackling stage 4 cancer, wasting a villain like Gore the God Butcher. Love and Thunder was as Ed said, a train wreck, where he took somebody like the Grandmaster and had more fun with it, and Hela, and I think it just worked better, So he did one really good movie, but it really wasn't necessarily a Thor movie, and he did one bad movie. So I love to see him move on, see what he does next. I'll watch the Incal, I'll watch his Star Wars movie, and hope for the best. And I hope if they decide to continue with the character of Korg, that he returns to voice Korg. So, all right, Superman Legacy gets its engineer. Maria Gabriel de Ferreira is a Venezuelan actress best known for her roles in the Fox comedies Animal Control and The Moodies. She has been cast as Angela Spica, also known as the Engineer, part of the Authority. Her powers stem from nanotechnology built into her body. This is a character created by Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch in the 1999 series The Authority #1. This really kind of solidifies that the Authority are going to be the bad guys in Superman Legacy, which kind of makes a lot of sense when they open up the fact that we're going to get other heroes, that we're going to get Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner and Isabel Merced as Hawkgirl and Eddie Gathiga as Mr. Terrific and Anthony Kerrigan as Metamorpho. It makes sense because you can see the Authority in action against them, defeat them, and that raises their stakes as villains when they go up against Superman. Superman, of course, is going to be played by David Cornsweet, and we know that Lois Lane is going to be Rachel Brosnahan, and James Gunn is writing and directing. But it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this. But I do like the fact that we're now locked in one of the villains. The other villains in the Authority, if you're curious, if you're not familiar with them, are the Doctor. Swift is a character with wings. Apollo and Midnighter, which are kind of analogs of Batman and Superman. Jenny Sparks and Jack Hawksmoor. But who will Sean Gunn be? He'll probably be the Doctor. No, Sean Gunn's already got his role in the DCU as Weasel, and he voices somebody else too. So he's got 2 roles already. So I'm all in for Guy Gardner Lantern film. He was always my favorite Lantern. Interesting. I don't know if I ever met anybody who actually calls Guy their favorite. And I agree with you, Ed. I've never seen a bad Kenneth Branagh movie either. So we saw yesterday that day before that Ana Nogueira is going to be the new writer, or is the writer for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow script. Gunn came out and verified that, saying a hearty public welcome to Ana Nogueira to the DC Studios family. Ana is an amazing writer whose screenplay adaptation of Woman of Tomorrow is above and beyond anything I hoped it would be. We're excited to be moving forward on this unique take on Supergirl in this beautiful star-spanning tale. So now we're moving forward on Supergirl. All right, we're going to take our second break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about what we've seen so far in the trailer for What If Season 2 and what we can expect. So be right back.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, and remember to stick around for all the great shows tonight. What's in the Box, Comic Book Beardies, and Sketch Up. And tomorrow we got great shows too. If you're not normally a Friday viewer, we got the Original Art Experience with Nick Marucci, and we have Comics Unlimited doing their Friday Night Live show. On Saturday, we actually have a late night dance party over on our Twitch channel. And Sunday, if you haven't checked it out, we have Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. So there's a lot of great stuff. You ought to stick around as often as possible. All right, let's talk What If Season 2 to finish up the show. Now, Ed, I think it was just last week, asked when What If Season 2 was going to be coming out. And that's when all the rumors started, and then the trailer dropped. And it's a very unique release for Marvel. And they're doing like two back to back. Oh, that's right. Nick is doing a Black Friday sale tomorrow. So you want to check that out. They're going to do two interesting things back to back. They're putting out Echo all at once, and they're putting out What If daily. So starting on December 22nd, we will get an episode, which is, I believe, What If Nebula joins the Nova Corps? And then on the 23rd, we'll get What If Peter Quill attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes? And it's interesting that they chose the title that way. The 24th is going to be the Christmas-themed one, which makes sense. That's going to be What If Happy Hogan Saves Christmas? And then on the 25th, 26th, 27th, through the 30th, we also are going to get What If Hela Found the Ten Rings? What If Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster? What If Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? What If the Avengers assembled in 1602? What If Kahori reshaped the world? And What If Strange Supreme intervened is the finale. Now, what's interesting is what we can take away from these. What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? That just seems pretty straightforward. What if she wasn't always tortured by Thanos and actually became a member of the Nova Corps, got backup, whatever? In it, we see her fighting Yondu. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a situation where these kind of build upon each other. Because the next one is What If Peter Quill attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes? And it's not necessarily Avengers. This takes place in the 80s, and this takes place when Peter Quill is still a kid. Now, a lot of people are speculating that what happens is that Yondu picks him up, takes him to Ego. Ego unlocks his powers and comes back and has him destroy the Earth. I don't know if that's going to be the case. What I think might happen is that in this particular universe, Peter loses his mother, is so affected by the loss that it triggers his powers, and he ends up either fighting off the Ravagers, or the Ravagers aren't there because Nebula captured him in the previous one. But he's still on Earth, and he's learning his powers. And then you get this team of heroes coming in to fight him, and that would be Hank Pym. And this is from the era of the flashback in the first Ant-Man movie, where he goes into S.H.I.E.L.D. and breaks that one guy's nose. You also get Captain Carter and... or you get Peggy Carter and Howard Stark from that era. But hero-wise, you also get Bill Foster as Giant Man. You get Wendy Lawson or Marvel as Star Force. You get T'Chaka as the Black Panther. So it's pulling together. I think Thor's in it as well. So you get that era's best heroes, but they're not necessarily the Avengers. And then we also see that Ego does show up, and we see T'Chaka fighting a whole bunch of Ego clones made out of dirt. Now, what makes sense to me is if Peter, again, his powers, it makes more of a condensed storyline too. For him to go get trained and come back, but for him to actually just start using his powers, they come in, they capture him. Ego senses that he was triggered, comes to Earth, and then starts taking on the heroes. So that's how I think it'll go, but who knows? As I hope it has a fun soundtrack like the other Guardians movies. That would be cool too. Happy Hogan Saves Christmas looks like it's a parody of Die Hard. And that where Happy is basically the John McClane character, the original Vel Johnson character of the cop outside looks like it's going to Darcy Lewis. So that could be a lot of fun, especially Christmas Stave. What if Hela found the 10 rings? Kind of looks like she and Wenwu team up together. Maybe they actually fall in love instead of him falling in love with the Shang-Chi's mother. And in the trailer, we see the two of them fighting together against Odin. So that could be interesting. Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster. That is one that's carried over from last season. And we've seen Gamora and that Iron Man from the final episodes of last season, where Gamora is joined in. Well, she comes from this episode. But we also see that instead of Gladiator games, it's more of Death Race 2000 meets Mad Max. The Captain Carter fights a Hydra Stomper, pretty much picks up where last season left off, where this is kind of where Captain Carter was their version of the first Avenger. This will be their version of Winter Soldier, with Steve Rogers in the Hydra Stomper suit as the Winter Soldier. The Avengers 1602 kind of takes off of Neil Gaiman's run with Adam Kubert, where all the Avengers are in 1602. I get the feeling this happens during the fight with Thanos. We see Captain America striking the Time Stone, and I could see that causing all of the heroes and Thanos and them to go back in time. Kahori is a new character. Is a Native American character who's going to have powers similar to the Tesseract, with the ability to open up portals. And I think she's going to lead into whatever the season finale is, whatever reason that the Watchers pulls together another team. And then what if Strange Supreme intervened, brings back the Doctor Strange that destroyed his own universe trying to save his girlfriend, I can't think of her name, Christine. And he's going to somehow get involved. And it looks like Killmonger is going to be back too. So this looks really interesting to me. I can't wait. I will break these down as best as possible. The first one's going to appear on a Friday. And so it'll be Tuesday before I have a show, which means that sometime during the holidays, I'll have to watch the 4 episodes. So I'll cover what I can through that week. But we'll cover them as well as we can. So, all right. We went a little long, but there's nothing immediately after. So I think they'll survive. Remember to stick around for What's in the Box, for Comic Book Beardies, and Sketch Up Tonight, which has a lot of great guests. It's just a lot of great stuff. You want to be around for all that. Remember, hit the like and subscribe buttons and tell your friends. Got to get to we're going to try to get to 2,500 subscribers by by November 25th. So help us out. All right, guys. Have a good night. I will see you next week. Take care.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.